Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Wrath of Man, the new Guy Ritchie film that came out last year, I'm sure. It seemed like it was one of those first movies that came out when the pandemic first started to dip and people started to pretend like things were back to normal. Which they're still not. It's just people have gotten better at ignoring the fact that people are dying constantly. But Wrath of Man, Guy Ritchie, probably my least favorite Guy Ritchie film. Although, to be honest, I haven't seen all of his movies. It feels like he hit it out of the park with his first two films, Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. Both of which I love, have revisited multiple times. They hold up. And even the somewhat recently, a few years ago, he came out with The Gentleman. I appreciated that. That one harkened back to those days of Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. This movie is just your standard action B movie. Just so happens to star Jason Statham, just so happens to have Josh Hartnett in it, probably the two biggest stars in this film, that are completely wasted. Completely wasted. Josh Hartnett, 100%, no reason for him to be in this movie. He is so much of a side character. I kept waiting. Like, you know that thing where you're watching a bad movie and there's only a couple actors that you recognize in the whole movie, right? And you assume one of those two actors that's like starts off as like a side character is going to somehow become a big part of this story. So that's what I thought was going to happen with Josh Hartnett's character in this movie. Let me spoil it for everybody. Does not happen. Does not happen at all. He is so far from being a major player in this movie. It is confusing. It is almost like there was another movie that was filmed and they just cut out all of his parts to make this movie the steaming pile of shit that it is. This is a armored car robbery movie. Focuses very much on this company who's an armored car service, which Jason Statham ends up working for. And there's a lot of robberies based in L.A. Apparently, armored trucks get robbed on the daily in L.A. According to this movie, it happens all of the time. And this armored car service has a cubic buttload of employees. A lot of employees. This movie, like I said, set in L.A., barely feels like L.A. It really, like Guy Ritchie really found all of the buildings in L.A. to make this movie feel like it was filmed on the East Coast. All of the accents that these actors, who are primarily from England, Scotland, not the U.S., are horrible. Like, usually, people from England have amazing American accents. Like, they're really good. By far better than the Americans who try to do British accents or Scottish accents or all the accents that are overseas. Very noticeably bad in general when Americans try to attempt that. And in the other way, in the other direction, whether they're from Australia, whether they're from the UK, generally immaculate, almost impossible to tell. Every single one of these characters, it was very noticeable they do not speak the American accent naturally. There are words throughout that they say wrong. There are terms throughout that do not be that are not so. Nobody calls a guy from Britain limey. Nobody uses the term limey in the United States. But in this movie, all of these dudes from LA and women from LA speak with like East Coast kind of accents that have like Scottish kind of leaking through, that have like UK leaking through, like they dip in and out of their accents. But they also are doing the wrong dialect for LA. Like nothing about this movie feels like LA except for a burrito truck scene. That's just, there's this burrito truck down this like random alleyway in an industrial area, right? That's painted immaculately with like red bandana aesthetics. Like this is the burrito truck from the Bloods, 100%. And are clearly, this movie was written by somebody who's never ordered a burrito, right? This movie, Jason Statham orders a burrito like people order beer in bars in movies. He's like, 2 burritos, please. You know how many different kinds of burritos exist in the world of burritos? You know, just go and order 2 burritos. Not that that's like the biggest problem with this movie is the burritos, but it's just on top of everything. It's like, this is a movie set in LA that has 0 LA elements to it, aside from some skyline shots and so, one shot that had an insane amount of, it must have been foggy that day, but I think it was supposed to make it look like the smog that covers LA. Just, it felt like somebody that had never been to LA in their life doing a movie about LA. So a lot of problems. A lot of problems. The storytelling, kind of interesting. A little interesting. Like the only interesting part of this movie is this little storytelling, this way they tell this story in like, they show this one specific robbery from multiple angles, right? There's this, it starts off, the movie starts off, and the first angle you see of this armored car robbery is from inside the armored car, as if you're like a fly on the wall inside of this armored car, and you don't see what happens. You're just hearing the banter of the driver, the 2 people in the, you know, up in the front of the armored car, and then you see like the people outside as they're about to hijack it, right? Which, by the way, horrible writing, horrible acting. Like the banter feels like 2 extras improving. Like 2 people that have never improved a conversation before, improvising a conversation because they need these characters to act like humans and speak for a bit before this heist happens. Bad. But then interesting. Then it's like, oh, then it's like this robbery that takes place and we don't really see a whole lot. Like a lot of things are happening outside. That was interesting. And then you see it from different angles. And every time they kind of revisit it, it adds a little bit more context, and it makes you reframe the whole situation in general. So I appreciate that stuff. But everything else was bad. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day. But go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out. Browse the entire collection. And when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10% as a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. The accents are bad. Josh Hartnett is wasted in this movie. His accent is what the fuck is going on? Like, if Josh Hartnett just spoke and didn't try to put on any kind of accent, like he was just speaking, it would be like a California. My memory of Josh Hartnett when he speaks in movies is just a general American accent. You know, like he's indistinguishable from anywhere. But in this one, he's doing like an accent, like he's from somewhere in the U.S., which doesn't make any, like everybody is doing a bad accent in this movie. And even characters that, like, it's so bad, I'm sweating right now. Like, it makes me so angry at the accents that are happening, that water is being just like forced out of my forehead. But super East Coast vibe, bad accents, waste of Josh Hartnett. The burrito thing was like nobody, like they don't, like, I mean, even just go and say, oh, give me a bean and cheese burrito. Like, there's different things you put, like, okay, a burrito. That's like going and ordering, can I get 2 sandwiches? What kind of sandwich you gonna get? There's a lot of things you can put between bread, right? Just as there's a lot of things you can wrap inside a tortilla and call it a burrito. You don't just go up to a diner and say, give me 2 sandwiches, please. No. Coffee is the only thing you could say. Just give me coffee. I get it. Assumed black, no sugar, unless otherwise stated. But give me 2 burritos. What? Bad. And even the end, like all of these things, so it's like Jason Statham is clearly a badass, right? There's scenes where he's just like calmly walking around with a handgun, shooting people, 1 shot, 1 kill, right? Until he gets an automatic weapon, and then he can't hit anything, right? But before that, when he's got a pistol, he's like 1 shot, 1 kill, no problem. Bam, bam, calm, bam, bam, bam. And he's infiltrated this armored car thing, which you don't know why. You find out why over time. And if you understand horrible, lazy movie writing, you can guess what would be something that would propel somebody to go and infiltrate and maybe seek revenge. Right? There's a very common movie trope where somebody like experienced a death of somebody close to them, probably related, most likely younger, no longer alive, they have to seek retribution for. So, of course, yes, it was because Statham's kid got killed. And you find out it got killed in this, like, this one bank truck heist that they keep going back to. But it doesn't make any sense. Like, they only have his son die, which, by the way, the scene where where you find out he's got a son, right? There's flashbacks. There's always like these It's an interesting way of telling the story for like a heist type of a movie. Kind of, not heist, but like a bank robbery, armored truck robbery kind of a movie. The only interesting part of it. But there's a scene where you find out he's got a kid, and he goes to pick his kid up at his apartment. And it's L.A. It's supposed to be L.A. Both of these characters are dressed head to toe, pants, long sleeves. Jason Statham's character even has a jacket on. It is blue skies, sunny. If you've ever been to L.A., you don't need to be dressed in pants and long sleeves ever. Maybe like 3 months in winter, you can like have an excuse to put a hoodie on. But he tells his kid to go get his coat. You know, people don't tell each other to get a coat. Weather doesn't change like that in L.A. You look up, and if there's a lot of dark clouds in the sky, you probably have already felt that it's a little bit cooler as well. But like, okay, so he tells his kid to go. It's like clearly this movie was written by somebody that's never spent any time in L.A. Zero. Like, this is clearly Guy Ritchie. Who wrote this? It's based on a film, Le Convoyeur. So it's a remake of a French film, it looks like. But it's written for the screen by Guy Ritchie. So it's clear, Guy Ritchie, obviously he's been in L.A. Definitely not spent any time there. Like, is a guy that understands, like, UK culture, like, obviously, right? And obviously some of his best films deal with being in the UK and the people that live in the UK and all of that stuff, right? But you're not going to go to L.A. You're not going to tell the audience you're in L.A. and then nothing about the movie feels like L.A. at all. Like a zero L.A. It's like this movie is constantly trying to gaslight me into thinking it's L.A. And I know it was filmed in LA. Like there's definitely some shots. It's like they're clearly in LA. But every other aspect of this movie is not LA. The way people talk is not LA. The way people dress is not LA. The fucking burrito order is not LA. It is ridiculous. Even the crime, right? Just think of movies. Think of movies. You think East Coast crime, you think West Coast crime. There is a big difference between crime on the different coasts in the U.S., right? And you have, like, on the East Coast, you have the mob mentality. You have mobs, right? Organized crime, right? You got Sopranos, you got all that stuff. Maybe like the farthest west those types of movies go is like Las Vegas. You don't really see them that much in LA. Generally, crime in LA is gang-related crime. But all the crime in this feels very East Coast. Even similar to the UK. UK has similar, like, a feel like these mob type of things, these families. So nothing about this movie feels like LA. But then the end of this movie, right? Like, obviously, there's the big job, right? And Statham is going to try and stop this big job, which he's horrible at, right? Gets an automatic weapon, can't hit anybody with a bullet. Like, just his ability to aim goes right out the window when he gets anything other than a pistol, right? Horrible. He's not good at stopping this thing. Also, not fun action scenes, right? You think Jason Statham's like, oh, there's going to be some fun hand-to-hand combat. There's going to be some fun action scenes. Like, nope. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. So everything goes wrong. People die all over the place. Obviously, it's what happens. Action movie. Everybody dies for the most part, except for, like, the main guys. The main bad guy and the main good guy. Except for the reason why the main bad guy is, like, completely accidental. There's no plan. There's no, like, the fact that Jason Statham is able to confront the guy who killed his son is 100% coincidental. Has nothing to do with what Statham does, has nothing to do with the type of person that just happened to be the one that killed his son. But that person just happened to be the only survivor. Out of all of the people, out of the hundreds of people that work at this armored car place, where so many of them are clearly in on it, the one guy responsible for Statham's son's death was the only survivor. And Statham guessed that he would be the only survivor. Because the last time Statham saw him, wasn't the only survivor, but he guessed. And was at his house, obviously, to get his revenge. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And my stupid idea of what armored car services do is that they pick up money from a business and transport that money to a bank. But in this movie, there's a depot where all of the armored trucks apparently come and bring all of their money to before it goes to the bank so that they can reorganize the money. They don't even bother to explain why there's a depot, but they're going to hit this armored car service on Black Friday because, of course, in America, Black Friday is the #1 shopping day. And, of course, armored cars would be driving on that day to collect the money. Like, it wouldn't be the day after Black Friday. Wouldn't it be that Saturday after Black Friday would be the day that you want to knock over these cars, because all that money that's coming in on Friday isn't going to be deposited that same day. Let alone been taken from a business to a depot where there's just racks of money around. It just is so, like every aspect of this, I couldn't turn, if I turned my brain off anymore to enjoy this movie, I would be dead. I would have to remove all activity from my brain for this movie to be like, oh, that was fun. That was entertaining. It was not. It's a boring Jason Statham movie. It's a movie, if I didn't know Guy Ritchie directed it, would never know. Like, Guy Ritchie, in the past, stylish, interesting, almost sometimes too stylish. There's zero style to this movie. It is written horribly. It's like, oh, we got to set it somewhere. It's like, oh, let's set it in L.A. It's like a movie that at no point feels like L.A. Nothing about this movie, aside from the movie telling me it's L.A. and then showing me L.A. skylines, feels like the West Coast even, let alone L.A. But yeah, I did not like this movie. Thankfully, I didn't have to pay for this movie. You know, it's just a movie that's streaming. I forget where I saw it. Probably, I don't know. Let's see if it says on here. Probably doesn't. No, it doesn't. But yeah, I at some point I'm going to do my top 5 Guy Ritchie movies, because I think there's at least 5 of his movies that I like. And even not, I'll still rank them. I'll watch all of his movies. I'm sure there's some that, like, I never saw that Robin Hood one. I think I saw parts of it. Stylish, though. Was it Robin Hood or was it something else? I don't know. But at some point I'll do a Guy Ritchie thing, because I do love Lock, Stock, and Snatch are amazing. The Gentleman, great. This movie, garbage. Garbage. So anyway, avoid it. It's called Wrath of Man. You don't need to watch it. It is, like, it's sad that Hartnett isn't, like, there's no point for Hartnett to be in this movie. His character is just so pointless. I think he ends up dying anyway. But it's like, he's like a character at the very beginning who's like cool. And like, you know, he's like, he's like the cool veteran of this armored truck service. But then the instant something goes bad, he turns into like this whiny, jittery, like he turns into a completely different guy, which then makes you think, oh, maybe he's in on the thing. Nope, not in on it. Just like a character that completely changes, like when it goes from cool to like, and I think maybe Guy Ritchie had his actors doing that to have more contrast to show how absolutely calm Jason Statham is and lethal. Like, it's trying to be like Statham is like this John Wick type of a character who's like lethally precise with a handgun until he holds an automatic weapon and then can't hit shit. Yeah, it's dumb. It's a dumb movie. Don't watch it. Wrath of Man. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.